With the tremendous success of Life is Strange back in 2015, development quickly began for the next installment of this series the following year, and 2 years later, the game was released under the name Life is Strange 2. Everything seems fine, right? Well, not exactly. When the players got to play it, it was heavily criticized for deviating a lot from the first game. Things like characters, story, and atmosphere are so different than what players expected. Not to mention, the large gap between each episode and the lack of interaction on the internet among developers and fans, except for some no-context spoiler posts, make things really bad too. There's so much wrong things that affected the game's sales and popularity, but as you may have known, there are tons of videos, if not forums, that already mention how they don't like the game, and today, I'm not doing the same. Instead, I will be doing the exact opposite, talking about some good factors regarding Life is Strange 2. So, strap on your backpack as we're about to head on the road trip to discover why Life is Strange 2 is not a bad game. Enjoy, everyone. Sean and Daniel Diaz are just your typical brothers who care about each other that are just having an ordinary life in the streets of Seattle. They went to school and hung out together with their dad Esteban. Most of the time, Sean went to school with his best friend Lila, who formed a strong friendship where they could tell each other their personal problems, and also knew each other pretty well, as we see in the beginning of episode 1. How we wish we could keep it this way. But unfortunately, everything fell apart in just a split second. Daniel got some trouble with Brad, in which Sean and Brad end up in a fight, and at the same time, a cop showed up and tried to arrest Sean. Unfortunately, at the same time, Esteban was shot, and Daniel unleashed his power. And from there on, the wolf have no idea what to do but to keep running, away from home as far as possible. Their only goal is to head to Puerto Lobos in Mexico, but to do that is no simple task. From that moment on, we watch as those two try to survive on their own by any means possible, where they have to work together to overcome whatever challenge thrown at them, because there's no one who will help them along the way. They gotta keep going no matter what, because those cops are right behind their tail. Speaking of which, let's talk about each of the characters. Sean, as the elder brother, he got a big responsibility, not just protect his younger ones, but also have to find a way to reach the borders as quickly as possible. It's the battle between death and survival. It's not easy as you thought. Since Sean doesn't have any superpowers, unlike Max from the first game, he's just a normal human being and have to endure a lot of pain, from getting beaten up by the racist local to getting framed for something he never done, and also losing an eye, just to name a few. The painful struggles follow him wherever he goes in each episode. You feel bad for him as he had to suffer with the whole racism issue to the point you wish you were there to give him a hand. It's not easy being a big brother. The deeper the episode goes, the more you cheer on Sean as he one step closer to the goal of reaching the border. Despite all the struggles, it feels like it is well worth it. Next up, Daniel. You know what? I'm just gonna call him Diaz Jr. I don't want to confuse myself with him. Diaz Jr. is an interesting character. Not only he's the younger brother of the two, but also he's the one that has the superpower. A lot of people hated him for the behavior, and I can agree with him. I've seen kids in real life around the same age as him that can behave much better, but you still can't deny the fact that he's just a kid. His mindset still wasn't ready to be mature enough to handle big subjects, and he can't make an actual good decision. That's when the struggle comes in. Because of his young age, he has no idea what's right or wrong, ending up with a big consequences. That's why whenever Sean makes a decision, he does the opposite and can be annoying for players. Only when he realizes the mistake he done will he only feel guilty, especially after using his power. That is a struggle on his side. Both got their personal problems to struggle with, and you can't really fully blame on them. Oh, by the way, I might as well throw in their mom, Karen. Kevin married with Esteban and thus having 2 kids, but unfortunately, due to life issue and stress, she wanted to leave the family. However, she had to worry a lot of factors, like her conservative biological family who doesn't welcome her back anymore, to worrying about the 2 brothers. In the end, she ends up choosing to leave without telling anyone. But she got her reason too, that no one seems to understand until episode 4, where she explained to Sean, and thus rebuilding their relationship. She chose to leave not because she hates them, but because she made a big decision from 2 tough choices. And in the end, she got her consequences and she got her reasoning for people to apologize to her. A character that deserves more sympathy, as not evil as what people say. They all got their struggles to deal with, and it's important to understand each one. A lot of complaints I heard from many people is that the game characters doesn't stick around too long, but here's the thing. It's called Road Trip for a reason. Even the developer DontNod make the game based on a couple classic movies about road trip. The game takes place across America from Seattle to the borders, with each episode lasting around 2 to 3 hours. Of course, the bros weren't able to get to know the people well enough. It's a road trip. You're not meant to stay there for quite a long time. You are constantly on the move. There's no time to take a long break. I mean, take for example, you went to Tokyo for a new trip for the first time, and you only have 3 days to travel the city. There's hardly enough time for you to do everything or meet everyone. You have to find what you got and just stick with it, and hopefully enjoy it till the end. In the game case, Sean and DS Jr. are constantly on the run with cops always on their tail. So it makes sense why they're never able to know deeper about each side characters well enough. Except for episode 3, where you spend entire episode knowing others. You have to meet them briefly and keep going on when it's time to. As much as it's painful, it is what it is. You gotta take the chances while you're still at it, and perhaps form a lasting impact in the meantime. Each characters are unique and have their lasting value, so think about it. One of the best examples is Lila, where Sean wanted to go to the party with her, but then you know what happened. At the end of episode 1, you have to decide whether to call her or not, in which I didn't. Fast forward to episode 2, when I do have the chance to call back, it's already too late. I don't have the opportunity to hear her voice ever again. It's a big regret, but remember, it's a road trip. There won't always be a U-turn. What you miss will be missed forever. What makes these games really impactful is the decision you have to make as you traverse the uncharted territory. You already knew this, but Sean don't have any power unlike DS Jr. But then again, his power isn't about reversing time, so he cannot undo to see what other choices, and you have to live with what you pick. It makes it more impactful because each action will have consequences that can affect the game outcome, unlike the first one, where you can just simply reverse time to minimize the damage. Not only that, every choices also affect the morality meter that always appear when Sean have to decide anything DS Jr. requested. Success or failure to do so will make or break the relationship of the bros, and most crucially, the ending. That's right, if you thought DS Jr. to steal/kill, his morality will be low, and at the border, no matter what choices you make, he will unleash his insane power. Likewise, telling your brother to behave well will make him trust you and surrender with you too. As if the final choice wasn't hard enough, you also have to worry about your brotherhood. That alone already make the game edges out a little compared to the first one. Your choice is very important. In my first playthrough, due to low morality and the fact that I chose cross the border, DS Jr. didn't hesitate to move the cops out of the way to guarantee the peace and safety of him and his bros. There are a total of 4 endings, but let's be honest, none of them are happy ending. All of each have their depressing side. Will you surrender for a crime that you never did, or just ran to the borders to get your so-called peace? Frankly, there's no good option. This is a bonus take. but I might as well put this in here. Like I said in the beginning, people hated Life is Strange 2 because it was so different than what they came across, and also the fact that they put a 2 on the title that makes people think it's a direct sequel to their beloved predecessor, which makes people even more upset, and I don't blame them for it. But there's one thing I want to tell you. Just move on. I get it, we all love Max and Chloe, even myself, because I find Chloe to be very relatable to my actual life, and I adore those two games from start to finish. But there's one point in our life that we just need to move on no matter what. I mean, will you still walk when people use cars? Will you still use hands when you have a spoon to eat your food? Will you still carry things with your hand when there's bags? You can't just stay at the starting point forever because frankly, you will be left behind by your surroundings and eventually forgotten by times. In Life is Strange 2, Brody and the bros stop at a location where we can see Arcadia Bay from a distance, depending on what choices you make, in which Brody points at it and says, "Everything is in the past," perfectly summarizing DontNod message. To move on. Simple as that. As much as I wanted them to take a drive down that town even for a brief moment, I knew it's not gonna be possible, and I'm fine with it. There are more adventures out there waiting for us, and not just revolving around one small town. If every game takes place around that area, that would be boring, don't you think? So that's why when I saw a bunch of comments from people saying they won't play the sequel or any future releases just because Max and Chloe wasn't in it, I rolled my eyes and just felt a sudden frustration flowing through my blood. How could you be so pathetic in your life? Is your life so dependent on the two fictional characters? Will you die without them appearing everywhere? Your life must be sad because you refuse to play any game without your favorite girls. You are not a real fan and therefore not welcome to be in our community. You pathetic scum living in a basement. I'm sorry, I just had to let it all out. It frustrates me that some people won't give the game a chance over some stupidest reason. Anyway, to those that stick around till the end, you get your reward as Step Douche makes another appearance, where he talks about his regrets from his past, especially dealing with Chloe and how he wish he can go back to fix it. We went to his RV and found out about Chloe's current life via phone call, and that few minutes of conversation are short yet sweet. At least we knew Chloe and Max are still living fine, and that's all we need to know. Who knows, maybe in the future they will make an appearance where every characters met each other. But until that day comes, I'm happy with what we had. So those are my reasons on why I think Life is Strange is good and not as bad as what people say. It got its flaws, but it's not enough to make the game bad. The more I play it, the more I enjoy this game. Let me know below what you think in the comments below, and whether or not you like it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy what you watch. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful holiday. See you all next year.